Hi, welcome to Tech Ranch, a place where we learn and earn technical skill in the most efficient way. Let's make coding fun. Swing Graphical User Interface API, JSlider. Today we are going to present you a live demonstration and implementation of JSlider to present an easy input style for Windows-based application in Java Swing Graphical User Interface API. Before we get into the demonstration, let's first learn what is actually JSlider. JSlider class is used to create the slider with the help of which user can select a value from a specific range. There are some constructors with the help of which you can design and style and define the slider in your application. JSlider that creates a slider with the initial value 50 and range from 0 to 100. JSlider with the argument int orientation that will create the slider with the design of horizontally and vertically with the same specific properties with a range of 0 to 100 with the initial value of 50. Int minimum and maximum that you can set with the help of JSlider constructor with the argument min and maximum value. And if we have one more return type to get it from the constructor, if you want to get the value where the slider is pointing, that you can add in your argument. So that will help you with the argument in the constructor. Create a horizontal slider with the given minimum, maximum and value. Now orientation and minimum and maximum and the value, all three of them if you mixed together, that also you can put it in the argument of the constructor, and that will also create a slider using the given orientation, minimum and maximum, and return the value. Example. So here you can see an example of the slider. This is a very basic slider which has some minimum spacing and number and defined to get the scale. So set minor tick spacing is used to set the minor tick spacing to the slider. These methods will help you to decide and design your slider. Major tick spacing, we can use it with the help of the method set major tick spacing. Set paint ticks when the slider is moving, that you can see this is the painted part. So that is used to determine whether tick marks are painted. Set paint labels, that is used to determine whether labels are painted. Set paint tracks will use to determine whether track is painted. So these are the methods you can use to define your slider. Now this piece of code will help you to create a very basic slider. So here first step we need to create a JFrame. Then we make a constructor to initialize it. Then we have a JPanel. That panel will further help you to add all the components in your frame. Now we have the slider constructor and define it in an object B, and that will be added in your panel. And further frame will add the panel, and then we set the size of the frame and then show. That's it. It's very simple. Now let's take a look at the demonstration. So what we are going to do here, we are going to have a horizontal style of slider with some numbers that will also return the value of the slider. Now let's take a look at the demonstration. This is my Eclipse IDE, and first thing I'm going to create a class JSlider demo basic, and I need the main class. I need the main method. So this will be my class JSlider demo, very basic. Here what first is we need to create a frame. Is we are going to extend the class JFrame, implement change listener, because we are going to implement the listener. Now we need to include the JFrame package, and since we are going to have the implement, so we need to include the implement event. Now let's first what we need is we need to make a JFrame object. First we need to create a frame. Next we need to create a slider. There's so many ways you can create slider. So here I'm going to show you very simple. and JLabel, static type of, so that you can reuse it and define it once and use it everywhere. Now inside the main method, I'm going to have a frame object, new J frame, and I'm going to title it JSlider demo by TechRanch. Very basic slider demo by TechRanch. So this is my frame with the title, and next I'm going to create an object of this class. So slider demo basic s equals to new. Now L equals to new label constructor. Label is defined, J panel is defined. B equals to new JSlider, and with some coordinates so that it will be that much size of the window or the frame for the slider. So let's make it a little short since it's a very basic one and it has some range. We need to define the range. P dot set paint. We need to paint the track. So we're going to use the methods here in true. Similarly, b dot set paint label, and that is also true. Similarly, b dot set major tick spacing, true. Give some number, suppose 50, and b dot set major minor tick spacing, minor tick spacing. Give some the same number, 5, tick spacing 5. You can make it 10. And p dot, and now we are going to add all the components. P dot add label. P dot. Now once the panel is done, then we add it in your frame. Panel will be added in your frame. So it's like collecting everything in a panel and then connecting, adding the panel into a frame. So dot text, and here we can have value or volume kind of thing, or define anything. Volume. So that is one of the basic application you can see in the media player, where you can get the value of volume that is set by the slider and get the value and return it. Now once this is done, you can set the size and give some coordinate for the frame. And f dot show method, so that will show the object we have defined. Now once this is done, but basically this shows that it is deprecated. It doesn't matter if you use it or not, don't use it. It's not gonna make any difference here. So now what next we need to do is we need to define the action listener. So what will happen when the user change the slide? So it need to update the latest number that was selected using the slide bar. That is what is going to happen here. So we need to set the label, because label is actually displaying the value what the user has selected. So basically this is the value of slider is. So this type of input can be used in many applications like media player, volume control, and filter settings and music composition. See, like tempo increasing and decreasing, or volume increasing and decreasing. Sometimes images like contrast, saturation. So that application, they have used this type of. So this is the code. You can see first we create a frame, then we create a panel. When there we have added a slider, and that slider will have all the setup, and then we added. Now let's take a look at the execution. So you can see here, when I move the slider, it's changing the value of slider here like this. So this type of things you can use in volume control, image contrast editing, or saturation, whiteness, and there's so many other features you can use to just easy input, slide and drag. Spacing can be maintained with the help of 5 or 10 like this. So that will make the space. And as you can see, when I moving to my right side, so the track is painted. So this is what the set paint track. So this is what the moved point slider. So this was the execution and demonstration of JSlider implemented in Java Swing Graphical User Interface API. These type of features of Java Swing can be used in media player, volume control, filter settings slider, age input slider, and image contrast editing features, where the slider is easy to move and easy to move for the user and get the output immediately. Homework, practice project for your hands-on experience. What you can do for the JSlider, we have done with the horizontal style. Now you can make it in a vertical style slider like this for the media player volume control demo application. So write a Java Swing program for media player volume control slide bar like this in a horizontal style, and get the value from return the value. Let's take a look at the small execution for your practice project. So this is my Eclipse ID, and here is my code for the. It's very simple and very basic. You can see here. So what I'm doing, I'm moving my slider from top to bottom, and it starts from 0 and goes up as the volume increase, and increasing and increasing till 195. So you can set the values from 0 to 200, and maybe you can add the spacing too. This is 0 to 200, and by default value is 120. So if I'm making a spacing, suppose 20, let's take a look at the execution. So it was 5, and now you see it is 20. You can make it as a 10. 20 is very complicated. 5 was very fine, and 10 is like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, like this. Spacing. So this is what the execution for JSlider. For any kind of questions, concerns, source code needed, please feel free to contact techranch2019@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for more upcoming interesting, informative sessions. Let's make coding fun. Thank you.